In the aftermath of a catastrophe, the availability of life-sustaining commodities, supplies, and equipment will be limited. Resource needs will overwhelm local, state, private, and even federal partners. This is Logistics 201, Receiving and Distribution Center. A Receiving and Distribution Center, or RDC, provides a way station where incoming resources may be staged and organized. The goal of an RDC is to get the right resources staged and ready to go to the right place at the right time to support response operations. I'm Joe, your Logistics Section Chief in the Emergency Operations Center, or EOC. I'm here to make sure you gain the knowledge and skills required to manage or coordinate receiving and distribution, or staging, operations from the EOC. In this course, we'll focus on key operational and managerial functions at an RDC, as well as the interactions between the EOC and RDC. By the end of this course, I want to be sure you are familiar with the terminology, systems, procedures, forms, and other relevant administrative functions of the RDC so you can quickly assimilate into ongoing operations. Now let's move on to an overview of the RDC and its objectives. An RDC provides a way station for incoming shipments so that the local or state emergency management agency can effectively manage a sharp increase in incoming resources following a catastrophe. The RDC provides local and state EOCs with a standardized mechanism to receive, manage, stage, and distribute large quantities of critical commodities, supplies, and equipment. The RDC's primary objectives are to augment existing emergency supply chains, expand a jurisdiction's capacity to manage a surge of critical shipments into an impacted area, and operate in concert with similar local, state, and federal operations, but not as a mobilization point for large numbers of personnel. The RDC plan is activated when a local or state emergency management agency, or EOC, determines that one of the following triggers has been met. A. Disruptions to the supply chain inhibit public access to life-sustaining commodities, supplies, or equipment, forcing the local or state emergency management agency to manage large quantities of incoming resources. B. Existing supply chains are overwhelmed. Or C. The emergency management agency, or EOC, has been instructed to activate the plan by the local or state elected official or agency administrator. When an RDC is fully operational, it becomes a way station for the receipt, staging, and deployment of shipments to support incident response operations. As a general guideline, the EOC should expect an RDC to handle between 200 and 600 trailers per day. In the most extreme circumstances, the RDC may expand to manage up to 800 trailers per day. The exact capacity of an RDC site is most dependent upon the size of the available paved area, or hard stand, and the site's entrance and exit, or ingress and egress, capacity. The layout of the RDC varies by site, but always has the same functional areas. Let's look at a sample RDC site layout. Shipments arrive at the check-in gate. From there, they go to either the holding area, an open area where shipments that require additional action are temporarily quarantined, or to the shipment storage areas, where shipments are staged for deployment. Items that require special handling, such as generators, are routed to the equipment yard. Finally, each site has a checkout parking area, which is an open area where deployments are organized and documentation is finalized prior to departure. Trucks exit the RDC through the checkout gate. RDC sites also contain a driver support center with amenities such as restrooms, water, and information for drivers awaiting deployment. A ground support area where fuel, toolkits, spill kits, and limited repair parts are stored. A staff rest area with basic amenities for staff including food and water, restrooms, showers, phones, computers, and power outlets. A staff gate and parking area where RDC staff enter, exit, and are able to park their vehicles. The RDC command post, which serves as a field office for command staff and staff who need workstations. And finally, an advanced operations area, which is the area that may be activated when there is a need for special operational capabilities at the RDC, including ground operations like cross-docking, managing leased trailers or shuttle tractor fleets, and intermodal operations. Now that we've covered the general functional areas of an RDC site, let's take a look at the conventional workflow employed in RDC operations. First, the EOC arranges delivery to the RDC. The shipment arrives at the RDC and is staged for deployment by RDC staff, who notify the EOC of receipt. While most shipments go directly to the storage area, some require additional action and are temporarily quarantined to the holding area. Shipments that require special handling, such as generators, are staged in the equipment yard. If the EOC doesn't immediately specify a need for the shipment, it remains staged and ready for deployment. Shipments in the storage area are inventoried each operational period and reported as on hand on an RDC status summary, ICS 209. Once the EOC orders a deployment, the RDC prepares the shipment according to EOC instructions. The RDC then reports the deployment to the EOC, including any bill of lading information. Once the shipment is received by the requester, the EOC confirms receipt. Staffing requirements for an RDC depend on the site layout and traffic pattern, hours of operation, and scale of operations. As a general guideline, the EOC should expect to assign between 40 and 172 personnel. In extreme circumstances, this may be reduced to 20 or expanded to 183 personnel. More information on staffing can be found in Operational Strategy 2, Staff Identification and Mobilization, in the Disaster Logistics RDC Plan. The animation that follows shows a fully expanded RDC staffing organization for one operational period. The RDC coordinator is activated by the EOC manager once they, the Emergency Management Agency executive, or agency administrator, confirm that a trigger for the Disaster Logistics RDC plan has been met. The initial RDC team includes an RDC commander, a public information officer, a safety officer, and liaison officer, who form the RDC command staff. A law enforcement liaison may be included if needed, along with individual operations, planning, logistics, and administration finance section chiefs. If the demands on the RDC are more than the 4 section chiefs can manage, the RDC operations section expands to include a deployment branch director and a gate crew boss. The planning section gains demobilization, documentation, resource, and situation unit leaders. The logistics section institutes 2 branches, service and support, and the administration finance section splits its duties among compensation and claims, cost, procurement, and time unit leaders. Now that you know a bit more about how an RDC operates, let's look more closely at the role of the EOC in getting the RDC up and running. The first step is to select an RDC site. Before you can select a site for an RDC, you must determine how much space you need. You do this by estimating the number of shipments that will move through an RDC in each 24-hour period. This number is your estimated throughput. To determine your initial estimated throughput, you'll need to break down your existing unfulfilled requests, deliveries, and anticipated requests, and estimate how many trucks will be required to meet all of these outstanding and anticipated needs. Estimates for commonly requested commodities are included in the site selection section of the Disaster Logistics RDC Plan in Operational Strategy 1, along with a worksheet to make it easy for you to calculate the estimated initial throughput. Using the estimated throughput you've calculated, you'll then need to determine site operating requirements. Will the RDC operate on a 12 or 24-hour operating pattern? How many check-in and check-out lanes will that estimated throughput require? And how much on-site storage should the RDC have? These factors are vital to ensuring the proposed site is adequate for the amount of shipments the RDC will be required to process. Once you've decided between 12 or 24-hour operations, identified how many check-in and check-out lanes are needed, and the storage capacity needed to complete the mission, you can begin to select the optimal site. First, you should attempt to locate a list of pre-identified RDC sites if available. If there are no pre-identified sites, create a list of potential sites based on the criteria you've outlined. Sites should be near a highway or major arterial roadway and within a 4-hour drive of most delivery locations. Make sure that the site has the necessary utilities, communications capabilities, and lighting. It should be relatively free of debris with a security perimeter to control access to the site. Certainly, you'll always try to find the best possible site, but know that conditions can change depending on the incident, so you'll need to be flexible and adaptable. Select the site that best meets the RDC's estimated needs and meets most, if not all, of the minimum and preferred characteristics listed in your site selection checklist. The checklist used in this course is from the Disaster Logistics RDC Plan. You should also assess the site to confirm that any buildings adjacent to the site are structurally sound and do not pose a risk to anyone at the site, and determine whether there are any environmental issues at the site that could put workers at risk. Now that you've found the preferred site, you'll need to contact the facility manager to obtain authorization to use it. First, confirm that the site is available and agreements are in place to govern its use. If agreements are not in place, follow the processes and procedures outlined by your Emergency Management Agency or EOC to obtain authorization to use the site. Before you begin operations on the site, it's important to document facility conditions and take photographs of any existing damage if possible. Well, this concludes our overview of the RDC. If you have further questions, there is a lot of detailed material out there to guide you through the specifics of RDC roles and operations. The Disaster Logistics RDC Plan, created by the Regional Logistics Program, provides guidance for EOC users, and the bibliography can point you to a variety of additional resources. The RDC Field Operations Guide, or FOG, created by the Regional Logistics Program, provides tactical guidance for field users who are working at an RDC site. If you're interested in understanding how the RDC fits into overall EOC operations, there are other courses available, including Logistics 101, Disaster Logistician, Logistics 200, Logistics Center, and Logistics 202, Commodity Point of Distribution. National resources include the Incident Command System, National Incident Management System, and the National Response Framework. For more information on how to access these resources and many more, visit the Regional Logistics Program website at www.emergencylogistics.org.